Welcome into the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and it is time for another mock draft. This one coming to you a little bit later than it normally does in the week because we're 2 days through with the, tampering period, the free, whatever, legal tampering period of the NFL season has come pretty much gone by the time that this video is up. Then some of these contracts will be official, but we know where a lot of the free agents are going now, and that is going to shape the draft going forward and make some of the stuff that we were doing previously irrelevant at times. But also just, we're honing in now on really where we can actually place these guys. And so I decided, hey, I'll take a shot at it. I have a little bit of extra time here. I don't need to go to bed yet. And I thought it was a really, really fun one, so I just wanted to get on here while it was still fresh in my head, while some of my thoughts were still going, or still, there as to some of the logic behind some of the decisions that I made, and present it to you. So that's what we're going to do. Just want to point out, I have been releasing videos in a series on every position, my top 10, 5, 15, depending on the position, of the 2024 NFL draft, my top 10, top 15 for the big board, the positional board, not really the big board, positional board for each position. So check those videos out on the YouTube page. You can subscribe to the channel, click on me after you subscribe, of course, and then go there and you can find those videos. And I'll try to remember, maybe I'll put a little bit of a thingy majigger, a postcard like at the top of the page that'll pop up to bring you to one of those videos if you wanted to just quick go there that way. Otherwise, at the end of this video, one of them should pop up as well. With that all out of the way, let's just get onto this darn thing here. We're going to start it pretty similarly. So obviously the interesting part to Chicago and where we're at now, I was thinking probably second, maybe third round draft pick not too long ago for Justin Fields, but as we've found out, the NFL does not agree with that. I don't even want to say seems like. It's almost a sure thing at this point that that's not how the NFL feels on Justin Fields. And we're looking at a situation where they're, I'm thinking fifth round. Like, if it's a sixth round is all they can get on him, I don't see... Actually, I do understand why you don't keep him as a backup. You still probably want to get rid of him because that does create... quite the, there's the fan base is split. I know the locker room likes Justin Fields quite a bit overall. It's just asking for a lot of problems, as fun as it would be to have Caleb Williams and then a package that you could put Justin Fields on the field with. Might not be the wisest business decision compared to, for the locker room reasons and for just fan circus media reasons, etc. So I do still think they're going to go Caleb Williams, though. And, if you ever thought of getting rid of this first pick and sticking with Justin Fields, the fact that the league won't give you, the league is shelling out more for guys like Russell Wilson and guys who have been there and done it before, Sam Darnold and whatnot, who just... almost nobody's, it seems like, right? And they're not even sniffing Justin Fields. So if that was ever any incentive, if you're the inside of the Chicago about what others feel about your starting quarterback, not too highly of him. So maybe that's your cement to go ahead and take Caleb Williams. Second pick of this draft, we're going to keep this pretty normal here. Drake May, third pick of the draft, is where things start to get interesting. New England gets, see now, names are going to start to slip my mind here. Jacoby Brissett. So that's another interesting aspect of where these, all these backups / kind of starting quarterbacks went and how quickly they went, and the fact that all these teams gobbled them up, I think tells you a little bit that maybe in this draft, teams will be a little bit more willing than we might have started to be thinking about letting these quarterbacks slide a little bit further than, all of them getting gobbled up really quickly. We'll see how it works out in this draft. But either way, I do think New England still would like to get a quarterback in this draft. But with Jacoby Brissett, you're probably comfortable having him being your starting quarterback if need be this year. draft somebody, sit him behind him. Most likely would be the idea, and you're hoping you can get one of these second-tier guys. But to me, this really signals that New England's very much so open to trade here. And if that doesn't happen, the question is are they high enough on quarterback Jaden Daniels or one of the other guys, or Drake May if he were to be the one here, that they'll take him at 3, or do they just say, we're going to take Marvin Harrison? Just kind of saying, New England's built a decent enough framework to be going forward. To me, I think it's the wrong decision if you don't go quarterback here for the most part, New England, but they seem to be signaling that they truly, this pick 3 is A, up for grabs in a trade situation, B, that Marvin Harrison's not off of the table here for New England at pick 3, if nothing else. Depending on, once again, what they feel about Drake May, Jaden Daniels, anybody else, and if they're there or not at pick 3. Then at pick 4, we've got Arizona, going to go Malik Neighbors for them. Didn't bring back, maybe we were thinking Rome Odunze if they brought back Marquise Brown. That hasn't happened. He is still available at this point in time. But yeah, Malik Neighbors there. Now is when things are going to start to get interesting. We have some trades here. So pick 5, we all know Los Angeles Chargers are open for business with this trade, or if you're not aware of that, it makes a lot of sense from the outside, and apparently on the inside, that is also the sentiment. Where did I store my trade here? So what we ended up doing here was I looked back, and I thought, if you're somebody, are you trying to move up here to get up ahead of the New York Giants for quarterback? Possibly. Now, given what the Vikings, the situation with the Denver Broncos, who I just don't think are going to move up. I don't think they're going to want to spend the capital pay up to be moving up unless it's a really, really small jump up, possibly. But, or Las Vegas Raiders, based on what they've done, what Atlanta's done, I don't know that anybody's starving to jump up here to get a quarterback unless they really, really like one of them and think that, the New York Giants are going to be aiming to take one of the quarterbacks here. But other than that, I'm looking at the board, and there's one guy who I thought somebody might want to jump up here for, get ahead of the New York Giants, get ahead of the Titans more so, possibly ahead of the Falcons too, and Chicago. All of these teams are going to be looking for a wide receiver. Is definitely, I guess, maybe not looking for, but a potential option. And Indianapolis is a very, very complete team. I like their team, and I do think that they have the roster to be able to afford to go up and really make a splash move here to make themselves maybe a little bit more deadly on offense. So the package that I ended up putting together was pick 46, a future second rounder. You get 105 back this year, and of course the 5th round pick for 1546, future second rounder from Indianapolis. Everybody's happy. Los Angeles wanted something out of it for in like that second round, 3rd round territory, and a future second obviously is very enticing. That was a little bit much, so they're just going to give a little bit back to Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is happy with that because yes, they are a very complete team, but obviously they still have needs too. So this I felt worked out for both sides. Indianapolis came up here to grab Rome Odunze. Then, and this is another spot where maybe somebody's coming up here to get an offensive lineman ahead of these teams too. Could have been very possible. In this situation, I just ended up, like, when I look at teams coming up for offensive line, it doesn't really make sense. You got the Jets. I don't think, if anything, I would think they want to move back. I don't think they want to move up. We got 2 good offensive lines here. No point. I don't think if you're Tennessee, I mean, you could make a little jump up, but I think you'd rather move back in this draft if you're Tennessee. And then you got like New Orleans for sure, maybe Las Vegas up there looking for offensive line. And then you're starting to get really far back, and I don't think that the Chargers truly want to go too far back. I think they'd like to stick up as close to the top, 13, 12 as possible. In this scenario, had to go back a little bit further. But no big deal. That's going to bring us on to pick 6. And in this scenario, there's a report that the Giants are just over not Daniels, Danny Dimes. And so in this situation, I'm going to have him saying, you know what? He's here at pick 6. We're not having to spend any kind of capital. Let's just take Jaden Daniels. Is this what they're going to do on draft day? If this happens, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe. In this scenario, that's what we're going to be looking at if they did that. How does that start to shape the draft? It's not going to impact Tennessee too much, but there will be waves felt. So I got to thinking for myself, you know, what if a team is trying to jump, especially Atlanta, Chicago, for Dallas Turner, edge rusher? And I started looking down the ways a little bit. You know, Seattle maybe, but they don't have the most draft capital, so I don't know that they're going to really be looking to make a jump up to pick 7. But, you know, Jacksonville has done a pretty decent job in this draft. I'm imagining in this situation that they do end up signing. It kind of looks like they will end up signing Calvin Ridley, and then they've already brought in another wide receiver, so... I think they're in a pretty good spot at this point where they might feel comfortable, might feel like getting a rotation in there at edge might go a really long ways to helping this defense out. And if they really like Dallas Turner a lot, that could work out too. So in this scenario, that's what I have Jacksonville coming up here for. They're going to trade pick 14, 17, and a future 3rd round pick to move up to pick 7. Tennessee's going to say, yeah, we'll do that. And Jacksonville, like I said, going to take edge rusher Dallas Turner from Alabama here at pick 7. Not my number 1 edge rusher, but I do think especially like he's a good fit for Atlanta. So this is where if somebody really loves him, I think that they have to jump up to, and Tennessee could take advantage of that. And in this situation, they did. That's going to bring us on to pick 8, and we're going to have another trade here. Atlanta not getting Dallas Turner on the board, a little bit of a disappointment. And more so, they're just going to get a call that they're going to say, yeah, we'll move back a little ways. And that call is coming from inside the house. Now, it's coming from Minnesota and the Minnesota Vikings. I did not write down this trade. How did I not write this one down? What was the compensation for this? You know, it could have been something like this, moving 79 up. I don't exactly recall. I do think Minnesota might have avoided trying to give away too much capital in the future and too much... maybe it was something as simple as that. That's what we're going to land on for the compensation. I don't remember exactly what I did the first time around, but this will work. Atlanta's just going to be moving up a future draft pick. You know, who cares? The main point is Minnesota going to be coming up in this situation. It's not going to be overly costly, and that's part of why I had them thinking about moving up, but not really being willing to pay for it up at to pick 5 and whatnot, just given what they did at quarterback already with Sam Darnold. But in this situation, came very close, and they decided to pop on getting J.J. McCarthy in, let him sit, let him learn a little bit, and let Sam Darnold probably start the season, would be the plan there if they go this route. Then we've got Chicago on the board next, and once again, we are going to see a trade, and in this situation, really seeing somebody coming up for Joe Alt, getting ahead of the New York Jets, because you know what's coming, and even if it weren't to be coming there, there's, you know, tackles that could be coming off of the board to Las Vegas, New Orleans, etc. on down the board. And in this situation, I got really funky with it. I ended up having a team come from way, way back in this draft. Let's see if they show up here. Yes, they are showing up as the Dallas Cowboys. Coming up from pick 24 all the way up to pick 9 here with Chicago. Chicago, happy to really move back at this point. 24, maybe being a little bit further than they would love to move back, but watch how this works out. So they're going to be trading away a future 3rd and pick 9, and they're going to get 24, 56, and a future 2nd. Dallas making a big splash play coming up here. They need a left tackle, and they're going to grab Joe Alt. Hey, you know, we're going to have a little bit of fun here. Then the New York Jets have, based on what they've done, really looking to get a guard in for some help on the offensive line at this point, from what I can tell. And we already thought that they were very well connected to Talifuanga, And Tally is considered by many a guard, and a very good one at that. So the Jets are going to shore up that offensive line. It did have them looking back for a trade, and just really didn't think that there were any teams at this point dying to move up now, kind of a lull in the trading. So that brings the Falcons up onto the board next, and I'm going to have the Falcons going for still getting an edge rusher. You know, they missed out on their number one edge rusher, but they can take my number one edge rusher in Latu. Really, really good edge rusher. I think get a good one in that one for Atlanta. Does he go this high in the actual draft? I don't know for sure. Yeah, it depends what teams think about him and how things end up. But in this scenario, that's what we're going to do. And then I sat on this one forever, trying to get Denver to trade back. I just couldn't figure things out. And then you've got the threat of, although Las Vegas seemingly is going to be starting Gardner Minshew to start the season, that doesn't, much like what Minnesota just did, that doesn't mean they're not going to take a quarterback at this point. Now, if you liked Bo Nix and Michael Penix relatively equally, you could definitely trade back here. But I'm not going to call it out like that. I'm thinking there's going to be a preference, and I think that is Bo Nix. And I also think that, well, I don't know. I was struggling to get people to jump up here. I was struggling to rationalize moving, especially if I have them moving way back, like somebody could jump them then again. And they're just in a situation where they need a quarterback. Like, they just need somebody, anybody. And so their backs are kind of against the wall to just take a quarterback as long as they like one here. And they're not looking to start a fourth-string quarterback or something like that this season. Obviously there's still some options and whatnot out there, but yeah, that's I don't know, kind of where Denver's at right now, and I don't hate it. It's just, it is what it is. So then the Las Vegas Raiders are up on the clock next, and they're gonna say, I just didn't want to have all the quarterbacks going, especially with some of the movement that we've had. They're gonna say we're comfortable starting Gardner Minshew if we don't get somebody, that we can start over him by the time that the season starts, or we'll get somebody and bring them in with AOC and have them, learn, and in a couple of years, hopefully we'll have a different starter than Gardner Minshew or next year. But until then, we're just going to continue to build up a really dominant defense and team overall, and take possibly the best player, one of the better players available here in Kenyon Mitchell. And if it's a need for the Las Vegas Raiders, New Orleans comes up onto the clock next. And this works out well for them, in my opinion. Olufashanu, left tackle, is what they need. Dominant left tackle, works out. Then Los Angeles Chargers come back up onto the clock here again. And with Quinyon Mitchell going out, depends, how they feel on some of these guys, of course. But if they like Byron Murphy more than one of these cornerbacks, that's the route to go. Plus, I do think, for the most part, cornerback class maybe has a little bit more earlier depth than the interior class. So we're going to go Byron Murphy to the Los Angeles Chargers there. I think that's my second highest need for them now after 2 days of free agency. And that's going to bring Seattle up on the board. And Seattle's a team who I think we don't talk about moving back, but I do think that they would be happy to get into that second round if possible by moving back. And in this scenario, I do have Green Bay looking to come up. Green Bay, not a whole lot of holes. It did spend some money in the draft, so there's even fewer holes ultimately for them here to get younger and possibly better at running back, or different at running back at the very least. And then got one of the better safeties in the league as well. So they're sitting in a situation where if there's somebody that they want, they can go right ahead and spend up to get him, I think. So Green Bay is going to give them picks 25, 58, going to get pick one, a future fourth round pick back. It could be a this year fourth or something. Could be different because they're kind of low on capital here. Could even be like a third, fourth round swap here. So like Green Bay Packers give up their fourth, Seattle gives up their third if they wanted, but I think you'd rather just give up a fourth than doing that. Maybe not, because once again, now they're going to be down to 5 picks for next year. You can get some, later round picks at least relatively easy. Regardless, Seattle going to get into the second round here, and so that's what we're doing here. Once again, you can find out different terms that you agree upon, but I do think that Seattle would be happy to be moving back and grabbing a little bit extra capital for now or into the future. And Green Bay is coming up here because they are looking at somebody who you're never going to guess here. Jackson Powers Johnson. They need a center. And I think by sitting and waiting where they're at in the draft, I don't know. It depends what exactly what they're going for. It's definitely something that they could do, but also moving up could be. So that's what we're going to do for Green Bay here. And then Tennessee comes up onto the board next. And Tennessee is going to get their first pick of the draft. And they've moved back. They've said that they would prefer to get like a wide receiver on this team. I think it depends what's sitting there when they're on the board, but they move back in a situation like this. Then a guy like Adonai Mitchell, who I have higher than Brian Thomas Jr., so it could be either one of them. Whoever their favorite wide receiver is, they take here at pick 17 in this situation. And Cincinnati held tight, was patient. They looked at the board because I had them thinking about trading up for you for like Joe Walt. They looked at the board and they said, you know what? By the time that we're up on the board next, we feel pretty good about who's going to still be there at tackle. It's pretty a good girthy amount of players here in the first round. So Cincinnati coming up and taking Amarius Mims with pick 18. And my offensive line video will be coming out soon, so tune in to check out where I have Amarius Mims on that list. Then the Los Angeles Rams are going to take... I got Cooper DeJean. They have safety as their highest need. I don't know if they're going to view Cooper DeJean as a safety or not, so that might help influence where they go with this pick. A lot of routes they could go, and Brock Powers is still sitting here at pick 19, which is just insane. Maybe they would want to do that, I don't know. And same, that could have been the pick a while ago for the Los Angeles Chargers here. Would make enough sense. But in this situation, there's going to be some guys falling in this. Like I said, I thought this was a fun draft, interesting one. And here we are going to have a trade. And this is one of those very, very tiny trades. Miami, seeing who's left on the board, I just mentioned Brock Bowers, says, hey, Pittsburgh, we would just, if it's cool with you, we would just like to hop up there a little bit, give him a future 4th round pick, move up one spot, and get Brock Bowers. I think that could make sense if we were sitting here like this, and Pittsburgh, obviously, it didn't have to move back too far. They were... probably received a few other calls, but ultimately with that, they didn't have to lose out on anything. They're still going to get their offensive lineman that's available of choice. Could that be Fautano? Could that be Latham? I don't know. I think they're going to be kind of a run and gun, which seems to be that'd be more J.C. Latham. Now, if they want to have a more mobile pocket, maybe that would have been Troy Fautano for Russell. That could make sense. But we're going to go J.C. Latham, a little bit more beefy of a guy than Troy. And then Philadelphia's and better run blocker than pass blocker and everything. And I think that's going to be the identity that they're going for. Philadelphia on the board next. And given what they've done, they're going to be able to be a little bit more patient at cornerback here. Quite a bit more patient. Really like what they did. Still think that they're going to want to... a day 2, day 1 cornerback, but don't have to go out there and get that, and they can stick true to who they are normally as drafters. And in this situation, we've already got Tyler Guyton linked to Lane Johnson, and maybe that is just what it is meant to be, and that they're going to go out there and take Tyler Guyton, bring him in, help him finish his mentoring there and get him in at left tackle of the future. So that's going to be the plan here for them. Houston on the board next, and they too could use some help at the offensive line. And given how this draft has fallen, I think that very well could be the call. Troy Fautano, I think, very much fits the offense here for them. Nice mobile guy. And so I like the fit and the need there. So going to work out for Houston there with Troy Fautano. guy who a lot of people have going higher in the draft than that. Now it feels like other positions have been falling, and for me, Chicago, a lot of people love this wide receiver. Chicago definitely would like to get a wide receiver, I think, in the first round of this draft. Definitely want a high-end wide receiver. It's a good draft for wide receivers, and thanks to that, maybe some teams haven't scrambled to get them and traded up to get them or anything like that. At least in this scenario, they didn't, and Brian Thomas Jr. is still sitting there for Chicago. I think that's one sweet deal for them, and I think really makes sense as the type of receiver that they would like to get. Seattle coming on the board next. Had them trade back for the first time. The board's looking a lot different than it normally does when I have Seattle on the clock. Could they go for an edge rusher, interior defensive line? Definitely was thinking about those spots. But Graham Barton is kind of exactly what they're looking for on the offensive line. Guard, center, a couple of their needs. You can even see PFF has that on there. I have them both as needs of theirs, top 3 needs. Graham Barton could be a center, probably going to be a guard, I think, but he's going to give him a little bit of that versatility to figure things out. And regardless, this is the range that I think he'll probably end up going in, if not even maybe a little bit higher to Miami. Is another team who might really appreciate what Graham Barton could bring to them, especially given their needs. Tampa Bay on the clock here at pick 26, and, you know, can't help myself. It just keeps falling for me. Jared Verse, who goes anywhere in the first round, going to go here at pick 26 to Tampa Bay. Then 27 here for Arizona. What I ended up having them thinking is here, like, they're looking at Jerzon Newton, Nate Wiggins, Terrion Arnold, and you know, there's a world where maybe they say, hey, we really like all these guys, and they're kind of open to hearing out any trade offers. Ravens possibly calling up for a wide receiver with Buffalo. You know, Detroit's a low-key team that could be looking for a wide receiver. Kansas City possibly looking to be calling up as well, so you try to beat them out by calling up ahead of, you know, before KC does get to it. But at the end of the day here, I also have a team who's really digging one of these 3, and it is going to be Detroit, just making another little bunny hop kind of trade here, and that works perfectly for Arizona because then they know one of those 3 will be there for them. And so Detroit comes up here, and another reason here is this really works out for everybody. Arizona going to move up 10 spots, Detroit move back 10 spots a little bit later. You know, no capital gained or lost really by anybody here, just kind of flipping things around a little bit. So, yeah, I think this works out for both of them because for me, Detroit probably does have a preference between these 2 cornerbacks. And although they did not need to take cornerback in this draft, given what they have done, I really like what they've done in free agency so far, taking a few pot shots there. There's no guarantees with the guys that they've taken. It's not like they went out and got a top-end cornerback. They've just brought in some names, and they're like testing them out and making sure that this isn't something that they absolutely are, you know, have to get. But in this situation, a guy is sitting there that they thought could go, you know, top 12 or something in Terrion Arnold. Yeah, they're going to take him. You know, I think they would really like Terrion Arnold. And so to only have to trade up 2 spots to get him would be right up their alley. Maybe he would have dropped down all the way to them. You know, who knows here. But I just think that Detroit would be foaming at the bit there for that one. Then Buffalo comes up onto the board next, and you know they have other needs other than wide receiver. It's a deep wide receiver class. I don't know how they feel about people, obviously. So sometimes I like to explore a different route, and I have their biggest need actually being on the internal of their defensive line. So Jerzon Newton's going to bring them some nice pass rush there from the inside of their defensive line there. And is a guy who they could definitely be interested in here at pick 28. That's going to bring, of course, Arizona back on the board. 2 of the guys that they liked are gone, but the third one is still available in Nate Wiggins. So that is the route that we're going to go for Carolina. I don't really have cornerback at the highest end of the list of needs, but this is kind of a best player situation, and they got a little bit of capital too, and still got a really good player that they probably didn't really expect to be available. Baltimore up on the clock next, and they are going to go wide receiver. For me, I have it between Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman. I think the big body makes a little bit more sense for Baltimore. I don't hate Ladd, but I would like to get him just a nice, bigger target, and that is Keon Coleman compared to Ladd McConkey, especially. So that's the route we're going to go here, but, whoever they like the most, but getting a good high-end wide receiver here at the end of the first round. And that's going to bring San Francisco up onto the clock. Lots of options. Jordan Morgan would be the guy who I have next up on my my board for offensive linemen. I do have another guy not too far behind that in Patrick Paul. And Patrick Paul has got, he's a really, really big human being. And I think actually makes a lot of sense for San Francisco. Similar to the Tyler Guyton Philadelphia Lane Johnson situation. They got a limited amount of time left there at left tackle. Take Patrick Paul and mold him into the man that you want him to be. And that's the exact kind of prospect that he is, just a beast of a human. I think I actually like him a little bit more than Tyler Guyton. Then that's going to bring us on to Kansas City, pick 32. And if there's ever a team who's going to say, we know exactly how a guy like Xavier Worthy's going to work in our offense. We've been there before with the elite speed. We got Patrick Mahomes. We're going to go for it. This is earlier than I would personally like to take Xavier Worthy for 31 other teams. But Kansas City says, we'll take that, we'll work with it, and gets the speed of Xavier Worthy. Dear Lord, I butchered this ending, so let me get myself off of the screen. Alright, there you go. Now you can see the entirety of that little mock draft. Maybe zoom in a little bit there. But there you go is the draft board. You can pause it. I'm going to end the video now. Peace out.